Hey everybody, Cody Pasby back with you. It's another edition of Wax Packs and Warning Tracks, Mojobreak's baseball card podcast. All right, time to eat crow on this week's episode. I think we said last week, if you joined us then, great conversation with Scotty B. Cards if you haven't already. We talked about how Top Series 2 looked a little bit on the thin side, looked a little disappointing, especially considering the incredible display we have seen from so many talented young rookies, the new stars of baseball, and thinking, man, where are these guys? Well, they were there all along. Topps pulled the rug out from under us, but in a good way, because guys like Julio Rodriguez, Bobby Witt Jr., and Spencer Torkelson are in this latest set as short print rookies. Is this the new way that Topps is going to be handling business? I asked that question to this week's guest and talked much more about the inner workings of the industry, some of the stuff going on as we lead up to the National in just a few weeks, some of the big movements, not just in the baseball card world, but sports card world in general, with Ivan Lovgren. Ivan has been a staple in the hobby for many years, one of the co-hosts of Go GTS Live for many years, just ended his tenure with the show. We talked a little bit about that and much more on this week's episode. Here is my conversation with Ivan. Ivan, first of all, thanks so much for joining me on the show today. Really appreciate it.
Cody, thank you for having me. I'm excited. I just have to double check you hit the record button.
Yes, we are good. Yeah, we're recording. We're rolling.
The only person that will get that joke is Doug when he listens to this.
Yeah, that one's for Doug. Yeah, exactly.
We once had the best conversation in our history.
And it will it's lost in the ether. It's lost to time. It was too good for the public to hear, I think.
It really was. It really was. And last year's National lived up to that conversation as we anticipated last year.
So a lot of big stuff. You mentioned the National. I think that's for the first time. It's like on our radars. We're going to get a little bit into that. And of course, some of the reaction to Top Series 2. But I do want to ask you, because this is, I think, if you're a follower of the hobby, some big news that after many episodes of Go GTS Live, you left the show. So just if you want to talk about your time with the show, some of your favorite memories, and and if there's anything on the horizon of what's next for you.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you. It was an incredible time. GTS is truly like a family. I absolutely love them, and it was tough having to step away. A lot of people were like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" And it's like, yeah, actually, I've got too much good stuff going on right now. I'm just so crazy busy. And literally less than a week ago, we welcomed a new child into the apartment. And if you're watching on if you're watching on podcast, you're not getting this, but if you're watching on video, like I don't have a background up, you literally see my office space in my apartment in Los Angeles, which go look at square footage cost for renting in LA. It's ridiculous. So we just got a lot going on, and getting asked to do the show by Rob Bertrand 6.5, almost 7 years ago, really, because we spent a lot of prep time before we went live, was just an honor in and of itself. And the resources that GTS threw behind us to make sure that, it was easy for us to do and that we could do it right. And then all the opportunities that came along with it, visiting, the being on stage at the National. I just can't say thank you enough. Sadly, it was just time that I needed a bit more time for myself in my day job and in my family. We're also prepping, probably leaving Southern California in the next 6 months. So that'll be a big step in just trying to get that organized with the kids and with the cross country move and everything. So yeah, that's and there's so many great, when we started, we were the only video podcast. Like we were literally the first video show for the hobby, on YouTube, Facebook, anywhere. And I know now that there's a lot of great content all around. So I'm happy to pass the reins somewhat to Mojobreak,
Yep.
Mojobreak
Yep.
Card Shop, and all the other great creators. So
Yeah, yeah, it's you guys have been really a trusted voice in the hobby for a while. So, it's and yeah, you mentioned it. There's an incredible influx of talent, of interest, of just a genuine like excitement for this hobby and all the podcasts and videos and everything that's come with it. So, and you guys definitely help pave that way. So, well, great to hear that things are exciting. There's, that things are looking up. That it's always a good thing to know that it's not for a lack of, there wasn't any ill will. It's just, like you said, just too busy. Just there's almost too much stuff going on. So it's good to hear that. Let's move into the hobby a little bit. Talk a little bit about what's going on. I always ask everybody, and again, if you're listening to this, I think people are pretty familiar with you and what you've done in this industry, but everybody starts somewhere. And I always like to ask people, what was that thing that got you into this hobby initially? What was sort of the gateway into, whether it be baseball cards or any sort of sports cards? What was that first, whether it be a card you got or a product you got or a pack you bought somewhere? What was it that got you
I'm
into the
so
hobby?
disorganized. I'm going to totally fail this question on live TV because I've got not only the answer, but I've got the coolest, to me, nobody else cares probably, the coolest piece of it. Just like I just had an aha moment a few weeks ago that I didn't own the original piece that really got me into the hobby. And I went out on ComC and I bought it for 25 cents and paid $5 to ship it here. And now I'm like, where did I put it?
What a steal.
Where did I put it?
Oh, no.
So at least for the audio people, while I search for this. So when I was 4 years old, I was visiting Chicago with my dad, who is from there originally. So I was raised with Chicago teams, Cubs, Bears, Bulls. And while we were there at a Woolworths, he bought me a pack of it's a little bit unique. It's actually 1988 Donruss All-Stars.
Oh, sure.
And found it.
Oh, there we go.
I knew it was here.
Perfect timing.
That very first pack I bought of however many cards, there was an insert, and the insert was a fold-out pop-up figure, Andre Dawson All-Star, Chicago Cubs, bought in Chicago when I was 4 years old, and I was hooked. And so next year I started, buying 1989 tops and actually taught myself how to read because I knew who all the players were because I watched the Cubs every single day on WGN. So that's where I got started. And then I got back into the hobby after, high school and college and moving a whole bunch. I would acquire little packs here and there during that time, and I'd literally rip them and put them back in the pack, and they'd be part of my move packet, because especially in Los Angeles, like when you first move here, every 6 months you have a new apartment, it seems.
Right.
And then around 2011, we moved into actually this apartment here. And I just had a feeling like it was bigger space than we'd ever had. There was actually space I could put these cards. And I was like, you know what? Let me sort these. I can actually start collecting again because I have this space here. And in sorting one of the boxes, I found 2 Mark Sanchez rookies from 2009 tops that looked exactly the same, had the same card number, had the same card number, but had different pictures on the front. And I said, what's this? And I went out on Beckett.com and paid 99 cents for pricing and saw that it was an image variation worth $70. I got on eBay and I sold it for $40 and was totally fine with that because I had no idea it was worth anything. It was also right before, it was literally the off season where Sanchez had peaked before coming down.
Yep.
And I was hooked back in from that moment. So I've been collecting strong since 2011-ish again.
Nice. Yeah, pre-butt fumble, probably a good time to sell on Mark Sanchez. It's so much fun to see how everybody got back into it, how they got into it, and I can definitely assure you, the first one I've heard where he said, I got back into it thanks to Mark Sanchez. So respect to him. Great broadcaster. I think he's doing a great
100%.
job.
Do we have time? I don't know how much time we have on this podcast.
Yeah.
What's yours, Cody? Have you shared already, or is this?
I have a little bit. I think I maybe on other podcasts, but not on this one particularly. But for me, it was getting into baseball in the '98 season, the home run chase. I think that a lot of kids of my era, that's how they got into it. I loved Griffey and stuff, but like that's what the McGuire Sosa chase got me into it. So I went, well, I need to do everything I can to like anything there is about this game. So my dad immediately was like, here, let me show you. I got a whole box full of cards. We went to our local card shop and I would just save up. So, yeah, it's him giving me all those cards of like Carl Yastrzemski and Roberto Clemente.
Wow.
And I really beat up. At the time, I was like, man, this card is absolutely terrible. But like from the cereal boxes, the lenticular of like Willie Mays. And I think there were a few other guys in it. And of course, I look it up and like a nice, like a PSA 9 or 10 of them are worth a pretty penny. I had no idea what I was sitting on. So it's definitely thanks to him showing me those cards after I took an interest to baseball. And then also like collecting Pokemon cards at the same time and entered that. So I was collecting strong from like probably about 98 to 2005 or 6, where it was either Pokemon or it was baseball cards. And then, it was probably just a few years ago where I just was, I think a lot of people were looking for something new to do during the pandemic, trying to figure out a career change or a career path. And I worked in sports radio, and as we're just desperately searching for topics during the absolute nothing is happening. All we're talking about is the same episode of The Last Dance every other day until the new one premieres. And as I was trying to find stories, I kept finding stories of like a LeBron card is sold for $1 million. A Giannis card is sold for $700,000. I'm like, what's going on? What has happened here? So then I dug deeper and started to do research on it. Found this job, and the rest is history. So I've been working in it and collecting in it now for just about 2 years after collecting all throughout my childhood. So man, I'm thrilled to be back. It's such a fun industry and meeting good people, and just it's good vibes all around. I would say. I think sometimes you can get caught up maybe online where it feels like maybe it's not, and there's some we can get into some of the negative reactions of stuff, but overall my experience in person has always been like I'm just thrilled to be part of this community now.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my first, like, if people ever ask for advice, I don't know why they ask me for advice, but I am a dad, so I'm willing to give it. But it's like, remember first off, the hobby is the people. And I actually took that John Newman, who runs a Sports Card Nation podcast. I heard it from him first, and he says it all the time, but it's true. Like, one of the things that makes this hobby great, whether I'm showing you my 25-cent Andre Dawson card or my $2,000 Lewis Hamilton card, is I'm showing you, we're talking about it, we're interacting, we both love sports, we both have this connection that comes stronger from the cards. And there is rarely, there has never been really an event in person that has not been so much better than anything else when it comes to the hobby. Like just hanging out with people and talking with people. I go to events like that, and 95% of the people just fill me with joy just seeing them in person from all of our online interactions. And it's just fun to hang out with. And that's really, I talked about what hooked me into the hobby, but what has really gotten me back is the community. At the end of the day, you could throw out all of the money, and I've still got better friends from this hobby than I ever had from anything else in life. Maybe that reflects on me. I don't know. But it's like I found people that care as much as I do about cards, or as much as I did as a kid about cards, and even more. I got corrected by a guy today on something, and I'm like, yep, you were stale gum. He co-created Baseball Cardpedia.
Yeah.
And there was a thing on 2005 Tops that I posted, and then he responded, and I was like, well, yeah, that's not archive signature. And he's like, no, back in 2005, that particular set came in a slab. And I was like, I love that you know more than me about it. Like,
right.
I can continue to learn in this. And so I encourage anybody, if you're feeling down, but you feel like there's still something there in cards, and you're just feeling down from an online interaction or something, find a card show, make a way to get to the national or one of these other industry events, because the hobby is the people.
That 100%, perfectly said. I love it. And it's a great way to kind of now, as we're in that sort of month now, ramp up towards the national. Nice little advertisement if you're like on the fence and, like I said, maybe turned off at times. That to me is like, go see people, go have fun. It's nice to talk to someone rather than look at a computer. I mean, just in general, that makes all the difference. So, and to be around like-minded people who share that common interest, like it's always a good time. Let's move on to one of our big topics today, because we kind of segueing into, the online community can tend to get a little negative at times for certain things. It happens in everything online.
I just hurt my own knuckles.
Getting a little extreme, really into
I'm
it.
so weak.
Top Series 2, which has been quite a roller coaster ride. We talked about it on last week's episode, so I feel like I have to bring it up again, because we talked last week at Scotty B Cards, and we talked in depth about what is happening with Top Series 2, and we didn't know what the full checklist was.
I was just going to say, like, the checklist had been released, but had any boxes been ripped when you talked about it?
That's the thing, is we were saying, boy, this checklist looks a little rough, doesn't it? Now, the idea of, hey, maybe they sprinkled in a few short print rookies of these big guys that we all thought were going to be in here with J-Rod, Torkelson. And if that happens, throw this episode in the garbage and act like it didn't happen. Well, guess what happened? They included all three of those guys as short print rookies. And gosh, I mean, literally on the night before people were starting to rip open the first boxes of this, I started to see, or I think I saw Topps put something out like, oh yeah, we got a couple guys. Don't worry about it. We got you guys. You're covered. So just your general thoughts on this kind of roller coaster ride we've been on, with people just being like, this is going to be the worst product ever, to like now, hey, maybe I actually like this version where these rookies that everybody wants are going to be a real legitimate chase. What do you think about Top Series 2 so far?
Well, so I can provide you two perspectives, but I think the most important perspective almost is the third, which would be, Doug's perspective. Like what does the hobby shop and the breaker think about this? Because the collector perspective is, I'm glad it's affordable and that it seems to have some chase value. I know flagship, you shouldn't be buying flagship expecting to make your money back. And this is my second hat, my financial economist level looking at it, not financial advice. You shouldn't be expecting to make your money back, but let's be honest, the hobby is a little bit more fun when there is that chase element. When I can rip a $100 box of cards and possibly pull $1,000 Wander Franco auto, or a $600 Ted Williams legendary home field advantage, or $300 Bobby Witt or J-Rod SSP. It makes it a bit more fun to have a chase element while I'm collecting my Jason Hayward Cubs cards and my Ian Happ Cubs cards, and wishing that Seiya Suzuki had a chase card in this. I mean, come on, Topps. So one, I hate that Seiya has been let out, like clearly doesn't seem to be in the product after almost a week of ripping. But two, it's a reminder to all of us on the financial side and making wise decisions with our money to stop, like, recognize. I mean, I was bearish on it when I saw the checklist. That was all the information we had at the time to go off of, was the published checklist by Topps. So coming back and now saying, well, hey, I'm excited for this product now at $80 a box. I love it. At $95 a box, I kind of love it. That's not, that's not a shift. It's just we have different information. And so just be careful making decisions based on whatever information is at hand then. Sometimes that's how you can hit the fences, but that's also how you can strike out. Pre-orders of F1, or first week orders of F1 this year, they were priced like it was going to be 2020 F1, but it was 2021 F1.
Yeah.
Was that right or wrong? Now, at the same time, how did you get 2020 F1? by rolling the dice. So just keep in mind that information changes. Now, I'm really curious how a hobby shop owner would feel or an LCS owner would feel about Topps releasing a checklist that makes a product's price go down because it looks bad, and then putting in everything that everybody wanted in the first place. I've talked to quite a few people that have purchased boxes, pre-orders or from higher prices than Topps is selling it for now, or than the market is bearing now. And, it's just kind of tough that the value that's there now is what likely was reflected in those prices originally.
Mm-hmm.
But because the public sentiment on the checklist did this, it's going to be hard to see boxes go back to $125, $129.
True.
Because the overall public sentiment did this. So now are you going to see that increase? So it raises kind of an interesting question on what is the manufacturer's duty when it comes to checklists, or Easter eggs. It's funny because we like them when they're Easter eggs. We don't like them if they aren't on the checklist and it hurts the product. It's very much a knife cuts both ways scenario, and I probably didn't clarify anything except just talk a whole lot about
No, I think
both
that
sides see.
Right. And I think there is, I mean, obviously it's a both sides thing here, but I think that there is, I think maybe if we could go back, maybe this has been sort of my go-to for this whole thing, just to be clear, is if Topps could have just said from the get-go, we're going to release Series 2, it's going to have these guys. I think they absolutely would have. I think clearly there was probably a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes leading up to it where they said, we have got to get these guys in there. Maybe there should have been more clarity on their side that, hey, these guys are in here from the get-go. But there's so many things at play right now. Supply chain issues. There was almost a strike in baseball this year, or we had a lockout. There was almost going to be a season that possibly didn't happen. I think Topps still wanted to stick to a schedule and say, this is when these products are coming out, which I think I would prefer that rather than the opposite. So yeah, it presents an interesting situation. And I guess now maybe the best thing about this is it seems like going forward, because now we've had enough the last few years, there's been sort of a precedent set that Topps is going to probably do this going forward. They're going to put in these huge rookies from that get called opening day or right around that time, and they're going to have them as short prints. And it just didn't, because of the weirdness of the last few years, maybe there was just not that clarity of like, is this how they're going to keep doing things? But maybe that clarity going forward, that Series 2 is going to be that product that has these short print rookies. So everybody plan accordingly, in 2023, when who knows who's going to be in there.
Here's the problem is when you start doing that, when they change things every year, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I mean, this goes back to conversations I had with my LCS when I was just starting, and they didn't buy enough because they had to order so far out in advance. They didn't buy enough 2020 football direct because 2011 strapped them a little bit.
Right.
And then middle of 2012, they're like doing great numbers with Andrew Luck, RG3, Russell Wilson turning out to be a gem. Remember, he wasn't that highly regarded at first that year. That they're like, oh man, okay, well, pre-orders are coming in for 2013. We got to order it all up. And then 2013 hits and there's nobody. And some people out there, will say that are like super heavy into draft prospecting will be like, well, we knew Geno Smith wasn't Andrew Luck. And it's like, yeah, but when you're a hobby shop owner running a business, you can't always go that deep, and you can't go that deep in 5, 6, 7 different sports.
Right.
You don't know if La Liga Mosaic is a good product or not. You just know that the last one skyrocketed, and so you can't miss out on the next one. And so I think it creates an interesting disservice, the amount of change that we see happen. And, I'll say this has been one of my gripes for a long time, is the level of communication. And I don't know if it's because they're busy, or it's because they don't care, or if it's actually a tactical thing because they can make more money maybe with that. But like, it goes back to my other huge card that I always have on my desk, 2014 Bowman,
mm-hmm.
where a bunch of Cubs collectors were chasing the crap out of this guy. and he was a redemption, so you had to rip the product to get it. And then they did two things with this card. One, they re-released it in boxes of 2014 Bowman Chrome, and it was live. It wasn't a redemption. So today, if you buy 2014 Bowman hoping to hit Chris Bryant's first card, you're actually hitting an expired redemption.
Right.
You're better off chasing it in 2014 Bowman Chrome. And they released the 2013. So in 2013 draft, he was supposed to, I don't know if he was supposed to or what. All we knew was that he had tweeted a picture of his superfractor, but then he didn't make the checklist.
Right.
And then in Inception that year and in Bowman Platinum, all of a sudden there's 2013 Chris Bryant Bowman Chrome autos, and it says first, this says first, this one came out first, that one shows a different product design, like which one is first. So this is not necessarily new, and it also makes me think about update. Like what's in update that's going to be good this year? Is Seiya going to get a rookie card in update?
You
Probably,
hope so.
hopefully, yeah.
But
then there's other rookies that seem to have gotten called up in time for the rookie card designation in previous years that got the call up on their tops now. Nolan Gorman, for example, so are they holding him back for next year? And we just saw it with Wander Franco and the whole kerfuffle with 2021 Bowman's Best because of the set order and numbering and historically what a rookie card has been. And then people arguing, well, no, Topps defines it this way, so we have to go with what Topps defines. And I'm like, this is a corporation that has been making a lot of changes or mistakes for years. Are they allowed to define it when it's simply being defined for their profit? I don't know. And don't get me wrong, I love Topps. I'm surrounded by their cards right now.
Yeah.
I've got stacks and stacks of them, but do we let them dictate? And so I guess my biggest thing was you saying, okay, so now they're setting the precedent. And I am so frustrated with how manufacturers set a precedent and then break it the minute people are starting to trust it.
Yeah, that's true. We've seen it so much. I mean, heck, we're talking about it with Prism Football. It's every single year. It seems like the amount of silvers you're going to get in every box changes. Some years it's 4. Some years it's every rookie. There was 1 year it was every rookie. Now it's 2. It's like, or maybe it's 4. Now I'm confusing myself.
Well, because there's so many configurations too.
Yeah,
so I get
exactly.
it. But yeah, it's like what about those years where all of a sudden the rookies were only silvers? Like that's incredible. That was incredible for the product and demand. I've said this at the industry summit or the Mint Collective. I've said it to Josh Luber. I don't know if he remembers me saying it or not, but I would just love it to see manufacturers take 2 products a year and intentionally make the same or even less than they did the year before, or do something like with the rookies, making them all silver prisms. And I think what was the basketball product this year where the rookies are all to $9.99 or less?
Gosh, off the top of my head, I'm trying. I know
it wasn't
Elite
certified,
is like that.
was it? Elite, Elite.
I believe it's Elite.
Elite. Manufacturers have to leave something on the bone, and I hope they see with the way that the hobbies seem to respond to Elite that's in their best interest and it keeps people interested. Yeah. It may seem like it's losing a little bit of money, but like Elite popped a lot better than most other basketball products this year because of that. They were good looking cards overall. Yeah. The inserts were good, but then that addition of the rookies being somewhat limited in a unique way, I think really, really added to it.
That's a great point. That is a great point. Yeah, it's definitely was one of the better Elites I've seen in a while. So that was a good product this year, and hopefully follow suit. And I think kind of to lead into something else I want to talk about here is that the hope is that as Fanatics becomes more and more involved in this industry and is dictating, the next product releases, maybe you start to gain some consistency across the board of like, here's what you can expect from every set. Because clearly, we have just kind of hit the tip of the iceberg of what this change to the industry is going to mean and what it's going to do. And I want to talk about that because this is kind of more of a broader, not necessarily related to baseball, but I do want to bring it back to baseball cards. That big news last week about Fanatics in the college sports license felt like a pretty monumental moment, because every single time it seems like that Panini has some, they've still got something in their pocket. We saw it with the WWE deal, which, in the hobby maybe seemed like a smaller thing, but you see the success of WWE Prism, and clearly maybe a bigger chip than maybe we had expected. But this college sports one, again, college sports not as big as the pro ones, but it just feels like another step towards kind of taking another major step away until, who knows, until it runs dry over at Panini. So I guess just in general, what do you think? Where do you think we're going to be here in about, I was going to say a year, but I think obviously the national, I think it could be some major news and some major shakeups leading up to it, or just after it, or at it. And then from a baseball perspective, it kind of seems like the most stable sport in terms of what kind of products we're getting, because now everything's locked up. Topps is there and it's all in house. But again, this is all speculative, but if things happen where it's like Panini either comes aboard, or Panini starts to kind of rent out their brands, for lack of a better term, of Prism, NT, all that, what effect does it have for baseball cards? But before we get to that, just sort of a general thought of like, where do you see this ending here in the next month, 6 months, 12 months, with Fanatics and Panini and what's going on as they're taking all their brands here? Or licenses.
Well, I mean, I don't know where I see it ending. I don't know, what Panini's plans are. I haven't been able to really talk to anybody about that, or Fanatics, even if they're trying to take over Panini, or if I'll say the more interesting thing that you didn't really hit on, but it's buried in all that, is the way that nil and individual contracts and individual rights have been getting licensed. I mean, look at what Onyx has done with individual players without logos, with art cards that are signed. The Ken Griffey Juniors are doing fantastic on the secondary market. Look at what, Topps has done with Overtime Elite, going after a different unique license that could have some huge impact down the line, but also makes sense for that league to get into, and there's so many soccer leagues out there that aren't licensed right now with anybody. Like, anybody can always go after those, right? So, and even like, F1's been so huge, and nobody seems to be talking about the fact that IndyCar hasn't had a card licensee for years now.
It's a great
and I know
point.
Lots of IndyCar fans. So
yeah.
So it's interesting to me, the licensing game, more so than the brand game, because I see a combination of opportunities as well as challenges there, which is, can you have one big mega conglomerate? Like, can they handle everything? Or no matter how hard they try, is there always going to be a small player that's going and saying, well, hey, I can sign Spencer Rattler, or I can sign, name a player. Top women's soccer player right now, Katerina Macario.
There you go.
Seems like either her or her team are not signing with Topps for Topps Chrome UEFA Women's Champions League, and her team, Lyon, is literally just won. They were the champions of the Champions League. So there's so much room for negotiation and so many people chasing it. And then the unintended consequence of that is, as you have Brian Gray and as you have Lance Fisher chasing college athletes and chasing lesser known athletes, well, they have to pay them, and it gets more and more competitive, and that can actually raise the prices on these other manufacturers for those types of athletes. So I just wonder whether Fanatics can own it all, or if Panini has some really interesting plans for alternative licensees that they're chasing after. We haven't heard any talk about soccer and who plans to go after what leagues there or what the plans are. And we know that that's huge and growing. Panini survived as a company for a long time before they were doing basketball cards. They're an Italian company. Soccer's an Italian sport. La Liga Mosaic, it's out there. So again, not really an answer. I wish I knew something. I wish I could say, yeah, the guys at Panini called me and told me this, or Josh Luber in that one conversation I had with him, and I told him print runs matter.
Yeah,
Turned around and
spilled
said,
all
yeah,
the
and our
beans.
plan is.
Yeah, it's just it really is all speculation at this point. But I think you're right that it's basically it kind of feels like for Panini, it's really just if they soccer is at the end of the day, it is like if they lose that is the equivalent of what happened to Topps with baseball and Fanatics, and that hasn't quite happened yet. I know the NFL and the NBA and stuff feels like huge, and it is. But if they can hold on to World Cup, if they can hold on to those licenses, then I think they will at least accept that as like we can still survive. And I think, frankly, just in general, it's always good to have competition and to have something to not just have it all come from under one roof. And I mentioned earlier that maybe things start to be more organized and exactly what you're getting from products, and there's not this weird variations of like what rookies are in here, how many silvers you're getting there, and all that. And when it's all under one roof, but the opposite can be true as well. That it's just simply, too many cooks making the soup. So it might be a little too much at times. And before we move on to our final topic, back to Top Series 2, just talking on the field. Of those four guys that are now, it sounds like there's going to be four guys here for Topps Chrome. Big rookie chases. Witt, Torkelson, Julio Rodriguez, and of course, Wander. Now we can include those three guys with Wander in that conversation of those four. Who do you see having the best future on the field, or if there's a different answer in the hobby for both of those?
I got to just turn to Google real quick and check the age on this one. 21 years.
All relatively
21 years. That's only so there's only 2 months between them, really, because it's December 29th, 2000 is Julio, and March 1st, 2001 is Wander. Because I'm inclined to go with the right fielder, Julio Rodriguez, over Wander. I just wanted to make sure the age difference wasn't vastly different. Because obviously age plays a big part in the hobby, at least with, how much can they do in their career? How much time do they have left to live up to these crazy expectations? So I think I would go Julio Rodriguez over Wander long term.
Wow.
If I were buying one.
Yeah. I really like Wander, but I think the things that stick in my mind are like, he plays for Tampa, and what I think before it was like he plays for Tampa, no disrespect to Rays fans, but it was the feeling of like you've got 5 to 6 years in that uniform and then you're out of there. For him, it's the opposite. He's going to be there for a long time, which also might not be the best thing because that team does get to the playoffs every year, but they just kind of, in a division with the Yankees and the Red Sox, and to a lesser extent, the Blue Jays, when they're on, they do kind of get lost in the shuffle. So as great as he could be,
and I would also like just comparing them right now on two different tabs. Like, hate to be that guy, prove me wrong, Drew Brees, but 5'10", 189 pounds at shortstop versus 6'3", 228 in the outfield. He just maybe a long career as a DH.
Yeah, Rodriguez just looks like a ball player, and he's playing like it right now. He's just been sensational for now about a month and a half. He's been tearing it up. And two, I think going back to the teams, I think Seattle is a place where, despite the fact that they're like farther away from any other team in professional sports, being up there in the Pacific Northwest, they generate so many of the most iconic players in baseball over the last 30 years. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr., obviously, Ichiro, and you could say A-Rod's, starting there, and all these, so many great young talented players have come through there. So that I think is something big going in his direction, but the play on the field, he's been sensational. I was up in Seattle a couple weeks ago, and he's the guy. He comes up and everyone's wearing his shirts. Everyone's chanting Julio in the audience, and like that to me, I was like, this is it. Like really? This guy's the real deal. It already happened that quickly. They have all just like, he is the star of the show. up there in Seattle. So yeah, I think I tend to agree. How about Torkelson and Witt? Are you not big on either of those guys, maybe, or just maybe a little bit of like show me a little more before?
Well, so I tweeted just yesterday, plug for my Twitter, twitter.com/watchthebreaks. People are complaining about the market being down, and they forget that performance matters, and they also forget that the market is based on so much expectation. In fact, sorry for all the parenthetical disclaimers, but not financial advice. Just today, I was reading a Market Watch article on the market itself, not the card market, but the market itself, and earnings for most of the S&P 500 exceeded expectations, was how they put it. There was like, or sorry, I should say increased. That's the thing. They increased. Right. Earnings increased year over year in the most recent earnings reports for most of the S&P 500. Why is the S&P 500 down so much? It's because expectations. Yes. Well, I didn't want it to exceed by 9%. I wanted it to exceed by 19%. And so I feel like with the card market, there is so much of that expectation baked in that if Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the next baseball experts are going to kill me for this comp. I'm just looking at a card and seeing, similar builds for me, but he becomes the next Joey Votto. Well, the current prices are not going to last.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be buying it, and Joey Votto is most likely a Hall of Famer, right?
And that would be a heck of a way he would have a heck of a career, but you're right. It's just like, it's crazy to say what if Bobby Witt's the next Joey Votto, and you would feel like that's a disappointment, which just seems insane. Now
you want to hear my biggest hot take ever?
Oh, please.
I've been raked over the coals for this when I've tweeted it before. Hopefully this doesn't come out for a few days because I'm busy the rest of the afternoon and can't field your Twitter arguments.
You've got about 24 hours to get ready here. So,
okay, yeah. Good. So I've tweeted before, like, is Ken Griffey Jr.'s 1989 Upper Deck card the biggest disappointment in trading card history?
Whoa. Okay, yeah, that is insanely hot.
It's somewhat hot, but think about it. Like, people were going to go to college on that card. He was going to be the absolute king. He was going to break all the records that Barry Bonds ended up breaking. He was the chosen one. He was absolutely it. And yes, he had a Hall of Fame career. Yes, he had a great career, but I still think he fell about 100 home runs and at least one World Series ring below expectations. And you couldn't send your kid to college on that. You could have if you bought a Jordan rookie then and held for 30 years.
That's true.
You couldn't holding that card for 30 years.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, you could blame print runs and blah, 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 but you mentioned it, the Jordan rookie. Doesn't matter. There's about I would say, probably less of those out there than there are of Griffey, but it's not so significant that that you could really blame it. So, man. Yeah. But again, no, I mean, you're right. The career was not what they expected. That's true. At the end of the day.
And again, I say that as somebody that was around at that time, and maybe it was just the marketing in Omaha, Nebraska, or the Beckett articles or the LCS I talked to, but he was Willie Mays, and that card was way above everything else. And it's just, like, did it fully live up to it? Ooh. Somebody posted from a Beckett from back in the day, and it was like $100 card then, and I think you can still get them for that raw, right?
Yeah, just about. That sounds about right. But man, that's something I'll have to bring up with Dan. Is a huge defender of that card, says it is the most iconic card of the last 25, 30, 40 years. Now, that might
not
be a
arguing
conversation.
that either.
Yeah,
not arguing
that
at all.
Conversation. Yeah,
it's the card. More people recognize that card when they hear, if they're not a collector and they hear that I collect, more people mention, oh, I had the Ken Griffey Jr. rookie than any other card.
Yeah,
more people say that than Michael Jordan rookie. So I agree with him there. But when we're talking about, do I want to buy Bobby Witt Jr. rookie cards, flagship rookie cards, or what have you right now? Not really.
Yeah. Keep it in mind. A guy who is a top 10 home run hitter of all time, maybe the most iconic player of his era, for sure, even if he wasn't the best. Yeah, that's true. And even he maybe didn't, in your eyes, did not live up to the financial, I guess, expectations that people were giving that card. So something to keep in mind. Absolutely.
Yep.
Let's do a quick round of what we call the taxi squad. It's our buy or sell segment. Our group of players that are either we are going to send down, we're going to call up, or we are going to keep on the bench. Are we buying them? Are we selling them? Or are we holding them? We're talking prospects and rookies, and there's going to be another new hot rookie, Gabriel Moreno. He's a top 5 rookie among MLB Pipeline. I believe the number 4 rookie in MLB Pipeline. Called up by Toronto, was tearing it up in AAA, 324 average, 380 on base percentage, a 2020 first Bowman Chrome Green Atomic Auto, PSA 10, on June 12th, sold for $1,355. This was an interesting call-up. I'm not as in tune to the day-in, day-out activities of the Blue Jays. I know they're doing well right now, but I know enough that I know Alejandro Kirk is behind home plate for them. He's still in his mid-20s. He's a guy that I think clearly they want Moreno to be the guy behind home plate, but Kirk is having an all-star season right now. He looks really good. The call-up surprised me. I don't think he's long for the major leagues right now. He could be next year. So if I was an owner of his, this is one of the few times I'd say if you got a hot prospect catcher, actually hold him, because usually I'd be like, sell, sell, sell. It's never going to get any higher than this for a prospect catcher. Where are you at, Gabriel Moreno, buy, sell, or hold?
I am selling so fast. I can't even believe we're having this conversation, Cody. When did you get back into collecting?
I know. No,
past 24 months.
We had a whole episode about how I'm like, if you've got Adley, sell Adley right now. If
he's a catcher.
Exactly.
He's a catcher. What are you talking about? Sell him, go buy him 25-cent Mike Piazza rookie just to remember the lesson.
There you go.
And move on.
There you go. Short and sweet. Yeah, we've got a Buster Posey up here, and hey, it's a great card, but you know, the Bobby Witts of the world and these guys just sell better. It's just what it is. We got to, if there's anything this podcast is going to accomplish, it's going to give long-term love to the catchers. I want to give the love to the catchers, but I get it. I know.
I want to too.
Yeah.
I'll say all of this is just trying to help people make wise decisions, though.
Absolutely.
You know, I've been buying goalkeepers, which is probably going to bite me in the butt in soccer, but like I would never advise someone else to do it. I'm just doing it because it's the biggest gamble out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
Remember the risk. Like,
yeah. $1,300 for a rookie catcher who, like I said, probably isn't going to be up for very much longer. Will probably start in a year or two with this team. He's up for a cup of coffee, and that would probably be it. So yeah, maybe it's time to sell. But
what are the other names on this list? Come on, give me some big ones. Give me some hard ones.
This is funny because the next guy is a pitcher, and you're gonna go, "Oh God, come on! Did you learn anything?" But it's Justin Verlander, and I think he's an interesting.
Okay, so not a pitcher call up.
Exactly, it's not a call up. It's Verlander, who I think is an interesting case because of what he's doing right now. His stuff was always on, obviously, the higher end for pitchers because if he retires tomorrow, he's a Hall of Famer. But at the age of 39, he ranks first in wins, fifth in ERA, second in innings pitched, which to me is the most incredible stat of that, first in whip, and second in batting average against. 2005 Topps Chrome Refractor, BGS 9.5, his first year. Refractor sold for $1,700 on June 13th. There's a lot of lower end stuff for him. This was an auto, by the way. And I think he is
BGS 9.5.
BGS 9.5 for a first year Topps Chrome Refractor auto. Just what he's accomplishing right now at his age and after Tommy John surgery is so remarkable to me. There's nothing he can do at this point other than, you know, God forbid there's some steroid stuff. You know, I hope there's not, knock on wood. But other than that, there's really nothing he can do to bring his value down at this point. So where are you at with Verlander? Like I said, I know I threw a catcher and a pitcher at you, but buying, selling, or holding on the future Hall of
Famer? If I had it, I'd definitely be holding. So looking at PSA, just because their pop report is easier to search. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I'm not trying to play favorites. Who sponsors this again?
Mojobreak, so don't worry about it. Yeah.
According to Mojobreak grading.
There you go.
Has that happened yet? It's about to, right? Everywhere.
We're working on it.
Yeah. 10 PSA, or sorry, 42 PSA 10s of that card. 42.
Wow.
How many more are we going to see in the next decade?
Probably not very many. Not very many.
Total graded with them is 139. How many more is that number even going to go up? And how much is, if we do compare that, I'm sure someone will, I expect you to be accurate. I know this is a very small slice of the pie. Compare that to the BGS pop report, but also ask yourself how many of the 88 9s have been cracked and resubbed to BGS to try to get a 9.5. How many duplicates are on that pop report? I think with a proven Hall of Famer with rings, with all-time career stats, yeah, that's definitely a hold. And if you're a Hall of Famer prospector, it's a 50% buy if you've got the money. And I say 50% because it could get cheaper for a while in the future, but there's also the potential that he continues this tear throughout the season, and Houston makes the postseason, and it sets a new spot from which it may not go down, or it may go up so high if he has a continued great year that even going down during those post-playing career dips may not go as low as it is right now. That's the risk side. That's your gambling side. You measure that as you will. But I'm definitely holding if I own the card, and thinking about buying if it fits my strategy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've been, if it's in your budget, that's a buy because of what he's accomplishing right now. He's now gone from, I think you're very good, he's Hall of Fame pitcher, to now there's a chance here. He doesn't show any signs of stopping, that he is in that sort of upper echelon of guys, just Nolan Ryans and stuff like that, where he is, he reaches this legendary status of coming back from some down years in the middle of his career. A Tommy John in this part of his career just adds to it. I think it's pretty remarkable to be watching what he's doing right now.
You want to know what else is interesting with him? I hadn't thought of this until just now, but I was like, I don't think I've ever seen an archive signature series card of him. And I just searched and there isn't. And wow. I would have to go on. Let me go to ComC. I hope you don't mind me multitasking.
No, that's fine.
In the middle of your podcast. But let me go to ComC and just search autographs and see newest. Okay, so he signed the newest autograph on ComC, which is good because you can sort by date, is 2012.
Whew, man.
So the other thing you may be getting with Verlander was what you had with Randy Johnson for a long time, which is no new signatures. Dude's made enough money. He doesn't need to sit there and sign for, $20 an autograph or whatever, and hurt his hand or potentially. So the signature pop report, broadly speaking, of Justin Verlander makes that very interesting to me.
There's just more and more reasons to get in on this guy is what I'm hearing right now. I was very much like looking at his stuff thinking, I feel like that's the guy. I feel like that's not a bad buy, especially for a pitcher right now. Man,
I just bought one.
Even more. There you go. There you go. Live on the show.
The absolute cheapest one because it's a Upper Deck exquisite collection dual signature with Josh Johnson.
That's Josh Johnson. Wow, there's a name.
Yeah, man. So it's only $70, and the next cheapest one, there's a $99, a couple $99 ones. I'm like, how much does Josh Johnson bring that price down? But the other crazy thing is it was numbered out of 55. That's
okay. It doesn't break it down enough to not make a speculative buy. And I think it just made Waxpack's Warning Track history. First purchase live on the show. So there
what else is interesting with Verlander is people forget that Donruss used to have logos.
Yeah.
So Verlander's old enough that he has a Donruss Elite rookie autograph. That's a beautiful looking card.
We've got a Donruss. This is nothing, not very much, but this rookie card from Artifacts Baseball right there. So it's out there. He's been playing long enough. So, hey, well, Ivan, thanks you so much for coming on the show today. We'll leave it there. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at Watch the Breaks. Check him out there. I follow him for the latest updates of like, hey, Topps has got the boxes up on their website. Go check it out. So I want to say thank you for that. There have been some times where I've snagged a box because I saw you tweeted it out. So, Ivan, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon. Talk to you down the road.
Thanks, Cody.
Once again, big thank you to Ivan. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Watch the Breaks. I'm dead serious when I say if I'm trying to swoop up a box of Topps baseball or some sort of Topps product, because Lord knows those things go fast, man. And Ivan is always a guy that I know is right on top of it and is a big reason why I've been able to score some huge boxes in the past. So thanks to Ivan for coming on the show and, of course, for helping me buy some of those boxes to stash away for many years to come. And, of course, if you want more of this podcast, make sure to subscribe to the show if you haven't already. If you're listening to this somewhere else, make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search Mojobreak Sports Card Show. That's Mojobreak Sports Card Show, and you will get new episodes of Wax Packs every Tuesday and new episodes of our flagship podcast, The Hype, every Thursday. And, of course, subscribe to us on Mojobreak on YouTube. Mojobreak Media, you'll get full video podcasts. There's so much Mojobreak to get. MojobreakShop.com. You can find it all. Just search Mojobreak. It's all going to come up, and you can check out the whole family of Mojobreak websites, videos, podcasts, and much more. Until next time, I'm Cody. We'll talk to you soon on the next episode of Wax Packs and Warning Tracks.